Okay, here we are. This is Monday's video lecture for week 5. The good news is that with regard to the calendar, we're halfway through the course. With regard to the work we're doing, we're probably about 3/8 of our way done. Today you should be submitting Essay 2 for grading by midnight. I have a number of Essay 1 revisions that I want to finish up today and get back to you. If you still need to get that Essay 1 revision in, please do. I won't know exactly who's done what until I get all the grades plugged in this respect for the essays, so please do get those in even if they're late. I can be flexible on that kind of thing, just not don't let it get out of hand. So after you get Essay 2 submitted, we are on to Essay 3, and in many respects when you read the Essay 3 material you will see that it is quite a bit like Essay 2, except this time rather than an analysis of a video you'll be doing an analysis of a website. And just as you did with Essay 2, you will use a passage from the reading, this time from Part 3 of Guns, Germs, and Steel, as a springboard passage. You'll use that to set up and introduce the website you're going to use dealing with whatever issue you decide to deal with that you take from the reading, and you will then analyze that website based on a number of criteria. As the written materials state, you can use many of the criteria that you apply to the video. For instance, the Savvy Voter criteria has candidate mythology. When you go to a website, you may have the mythology of the organization behind that website, whatever its issue might be. Though I don't know if this would apply particularly, let's just say you were using a website such as Greenpeace. They have a mythology as an environmentally friendly organization, and so you might look at what do they do to develop and deliver on that mythology. So that's one way you can go across there. There may be lots of images, so you know, they're going to make an appeal. They'll have an argument of some sort on a website as you do in a video. The website might make use of props, might make use of music, that sort of thing. So look at the Savvy Voter criteria. There are also a number of elements, if you click on Essay 3 assignment, that you can look at in regards to the analysis of a website. One is the appeal. I just mentioned that. It's making an argument of some sort. It's there for a reason. What is that reason? How do they do it? Why should we care? Have they done a good job? That kind of thing. Who's the audience? That's something you can pay attention to and critique. You know, what is it about the audience? I mean, are they preaching to the choir? That's kind of the complaint about a lot of the news media today, that Fox News is preaching to the conservative choir, that MSNBC is preaching to the liberal choir, that neither one provides an objective perspective, that kind of thing. So what is it about the audience? What kind of authority do they have to be writing on this? I mean, are they authoritative in any respect, or is it just Joe Blow putting up a website dealing with issue X? What kind of bias or agenda do they have? That ties into the appeal. All the websites, you know, they tend to advocate for something. They have some kind of bias. They have some kind of agenda. That is not a bad thing in and of itself. It's just when you lose sight of the facts and reason that the bias, the agenda, might become problematic. But it's still something to look at, and it can be good, it can be bad. Like I said, going back to Greenpeace, they obviously have what they would call a pro-environment agenda. Some people might say that is an anti-business agenda. It just depends on your perspective. You'll look perhaps at the content of the site. What is there? How useful is it? Is it just junk? The presentation and the usability of the site. Those are important things. If you get to a site that just is hard to find information on, you know, to get what you want out of it, well, that's not good. Going back to content, one thing you will sometimes see in some websites is that they are very flashy, very slick, sophisticated technologically, but they don't have a whole lot of content on them. So what would you say about that? Another component, so that's in the Essay 3 assignment document. There is also some website analysis guidelines, and those ask you a number of questions to consider, some of which I just went over, but answering these questions will give you a lot of kind of raw material to mold into your essay, into your analysis. The audience I mentioned, what's the purpose or the point, how complete and accurate is the information, how valuable is it, are there other sources, are the dates good, are they important? Some material, it's important that it be current, other material doesn't need to be current, some things just don't change that much. How do they use multimedia, that sort of thing. I think, one thing, bias, when was it put up, that kind of stuff. If you go through that, you'll see good graphic design principles it asks about. That basically means, is it workable, as opposed to all jammed and cluttered with a bunch of rainbows and twirling boxes or something like that. That is generally more of a distraction, and that kind of thing gets in the way of structure. So look at all those questions there. See what you can do. I think one of the important ones perhaps is the notion of interactivity, which is way down at the bottom. In the beginning of the World Wide Web, there was virtually no interactivity. There was just a static page, and you read the information and did whatever, and there might have been an email link at the bottom. Now there are places for comments, for discussion areas, that kind of thing. So there's a lot more interactivity in that regard. So, is that a good thing or a bad thing? It probably just depends. So these are things you'll want to pay attention to. You won't be covering all of them in the analysis of your website. You'll probably choose your 4 or 5 best topics. You'll want to develop your paragraphs in the same way I asked you to develop them for the video analysis, and that will get you going. So I think that's all I really need to talk about for today. You're going to be submitting your essay by midnight tonight. I want you to post your annotations for part 3 by midnight Thursday. A draft is due by midnight Saturday. I think your responses will be due to the writers a week from today, and then next Wednesday your essay will be due for grading. At the same time, I will be returning essay 2 in that framework, and I will give you a deadline for the revisions on those. So, as always, I guess one last thing. Citation is more important here, so there is a little bit of reading about citation formats, so we're going to pay a little extra attention to those. That's something we start doing with the 3rd assignment. Let me know any questions you have in that regard. I've provided a link to the Purdue OWL online writing lab. It's sort of the most authoritative / best online source for this kind of information. It's where almost anybody will direct you in this kind of thing. And one thing I realized I haven't put up for the assignment yet are some sample websites and a draft essay. I forgot to put that up last night, or a sample draft essay. So I will put up those 2 things sometime today, maybe not until tomorrow given my schedule today. We'll see how it goes. But that's about it. So as always, if you have any questions, shoot me an email. And there's a space in the course in week 5 also for questions and discussion of issues you might want to take on. So I hope you have a good week, and I will see you online.